Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book 91. We're talking to you guys about Ready to Love, and I wanted to discuss this issue, which is that Phil being burnt by Shiloh in terms of her punishing him, I believe, for something that he didn't know about, which is her trauma, does not give us as black men, specifically, cause for not protecting black women. I want you to understand this is what I want to talk about today, all right? Just because one decided to abuse a situation because she had emotional response to the situation does not mean the rest of us as black men see that and say, I never protect black women. That's an excuse which I cannot accept, and that's an excuse I will not tolerate, and that's an excuse we are not going to run by. So let's have that conversation going forward and talk about this real-time issue. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor, like it, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification for uploads. We appreciate you guys to lock and stay loaded. Okay, cool. So really want to talk about this subject because I think it's so important. We have had several conversations around this, but not maybe in depth, and maybe we'll have one in 2022 around what it looks like for black men to protect black women, right? But we have a situation now on our hands where we have Phil and Shiloh, 4 a.m. in the morning in DC, coming out of a club or a bar, and emotions are running high. People have been drinking, and we have Shiloh going down an alley, and there being potentially a scope for danger, right? And Phil, being the man who is obviously having a conversation with Shiloh, doesn't want her to go down that alley. Now she's going down that alley. She's saying she wants space, she wants time, don't follow me, okay? And, he is now going to be responsible for her, okay? Because he's out with her. Now, it makes no difference as to why they were out at 4 a.m. It doesn't make a difference. The problem, the situation we have here is they are out at 4 a.m. That's the scenario. It's late, it's dark, okay? And crazy things happen on these cold-ass streets, not just DC, but if you're in London, if you're in Birmingham, there's certain areas I wouldn't want a girl to go to. Now, here's the thing, right? I coming from a place like London, I grew up in London, and I know there are certain areas that, bruv, listen, even me, I don't venture through. In fact, I have female friends who, when they are going to visit each other or come visit me or I go and visit them, I remember I had a friend who, there was a large park that would shorten her time to getting home, right? But she would intentionally walk around the park because the lighting in the park wasn't very good, right? Because this is going to potentially put her in a space of danger. This is the precautionary behavior women have to take due to the fact that we're in a society where men often perpetrating rape and physical violence, and these things are real threats. So to minimize the risk, you have to choose certain behaviors, right? Cool. It's back to Shiloh and Phil. Shiloh's walking down an alleyway, okay, all right, and it's late. And as he expressed, this is a road that even he himself would be very cautious about going down because, like I said, anything can happen to anybody, male or female, right? Which means there are some places in this area where it's not exactly safe, okay? Now, is there an over-exaggeration of the danger? There could be, but obviously you have to have your wits around you when you're in a particular area. As a man especially, you got to be ready because at any given moment, situations can change just like that. And here's what we're talking about when men and women have certain roles. Nobody's expecting Shiloh to start fighting. If something pops off now, nobody's expecting Shiloh to start fighting. If she fights, fair enough, but no one's expecting that. They would expect Phil to defend her. If something pops off in that alleyway, nobody's expecting Shiloh necessarily to fight. But if you do fight, that's a bonus. They're expecting Phil to protect because that's what we expect from men. So if you're expecting a man to protect, you're going to have to be ready for the fact that there are going to be certain behaviors that you may not rock with, right? For instance, and let me give you kind of an example here, and it's not necessarily exactly the same, but you have to look at a situation where okay, imagine there's a car coming, right? And someone's about to step into the street. You yank them. You don't say, hey, you yank them. You yank them, you put them. They say, hey, look, you know what? You was about to get hit by the car, but I had to pull you quick. Right? No one complains about the aggressive nature of it because you were in imminent danger. And I think that's partly how I kind of see Phil's situation with Shiloh. But there would have been time to assess, unless he saw something, and again, I also take into account the fact that unless he saw something immediate of danger in that alleyway, the pickup might seem a little bit extreme. But at the same time, if you're aware of your surroundings and you know what area you're in, and you know that the fact is, at any given moment, someone could just turn up and suddenly you could be in danger within a flat second, you also do have to think of it in a protective mindset, which is, let's not waste time having a conversation, trying to console your feelings in this moment when danger could happen. You're drunk, or at least you're tipsy, and you know what? We're in an alleyway, and anything can change right now really quickly. Let's not even dilly-dally. Let's not try to play. Let me not try to placate you in this moment, because when we get into the car, I can do that. When we get into the bar, I can do that. But let's not do this right now. Right? So when we're talking about black men protecting black women, okay, a part of that is not just the physical aspect, but it's the emotional aspect, right? And so in this case with Phil and Shiloh, all right, he didn't know her trauma, that she had, well, I can't say that, actually, let me say it again. We're not sure if he was aware of her trauma in the past, right? We're not 100% sure. We don't know how much information she shared with him in that regard, yeah? Number two, just because he picked her up on the counter earlier episode does not mean she can't be traumatized in the alleyway, right? That's not how it works, right? And I've never said that, right? I don't use comparisons of because beforehand you picked, no, because in this scenario it's completely different. And that's why I said, and that's why I said, obviously, as well, that context is very important. Because in the context here, the reason why it becomes a traumatic response, again, is because in this instance, she doesn't want to be touched. Right? She doesn't want to be touched. Maybe she wants him to follow her, but she doesn't want to be touched. And the moment he picks her up to grab her, she's now resisting. That can be the trigger. That can make her feel like, hey, you know what? I've been in this situation before. Compared to when he picks her up on a counter and wants to kiss her, right? But there are also people that, and listen, if you've dated long enough, if you've dated enough people, if you've been fortunate or unfortunate, however you look at it, and dated people, you can have situations where people have gone through sexual assault, and when you're genuinely having sex with somebody, they can have a traumatic response in that moment. So traumatic responses don't, I don't think Shiloh's faking her response. She's genuinely being true. That's that was a response she had in that moment, right? That's the response she had in that moment. But what she's failed to do is understand that is your traumatic response, and you have to take responsibility for that part as well, right? When I say take responsibility, it does not mean you take responsibility for the past. It means take responsibility for the reaction you're about to give, because you're understanding that, unfortunately, if you hadn't gone through this experience, you wouldn't see it the way you saw it, right? Because trauma changes how we respond to things. Something innocent can now become nefarious because you've gone through something traumatic. That's where Shiloh has, not done well, I believe, in the way she's handled the situation with Phil. But back to the actual conversation, we're talking about black men, or talking about at least, us talking about Phil protecting Shiloh and men protecting women. He's made a mistake. He's picked her up, and unfortunately, it's a lesson to learn, I guess, because obviously the kind of relationship they have. You know what? He's unwittingly prodded her traumatic areas, right, in this response by picking her up. Had this been Sydney, would it have been a traumatic response? Probably not, because unless she's gone through that, it won't be a traumatic response. It might still be an argument. It might have still been I don't want to talk to you, get off me kind of thing, right? But it wouldn't have been this magnitude, right? The trauma makes it magnified. So now, I want to make it very clear, Phil's behavior of trying to, in that moment, for him justifying it as protecting her, is fine. I get it. I understand where he's coming from. It doesn't give us black men an excuse not to protect black women just because one woman or a few women decide to either incorrectly respond or not appreciate your defense. I'm going to say that again. It does not give us an excuse to now say, well, I'm not going to defend black women because look what happened when they defend black women. No. Shiloh is her own person. She's her own woman, and she decided to do what she decided to do. You have to put her on her own merit and no one else's. Do you know what I'm saying? Right? So we don't measure what the whole of women do by what one woman has done. Do you get what I'm saying? Right? I don't like what Shiloh did, right? Because in those moments, what she's done, she's also after that, confused the whole thing with the whole, he didn't physically harm me, but he emotionally harmed me. What do you mean? Baby, what you talking about? Because you keep talking about the situation on a physical response. You're not talking about an emotional response. The emotional part where he harmed you is him not choosing you. It's him not being direct. It's him not being truthful according to you, which I think he was. Because once he told you he's going through the process, you can ask him a more direct question, but he does not have to answer the way that you want him to answer. Because he's answered it. I'm going through the process. That's an answer, and it's actually a direct answer. You asked him a question, do you want me or not? I am going through the process. You want me to choose you, and now what all you had to do was take his answer and move. And one thing that's really frustrating about the situation is that Shiloh's talked about how, if he had just given a direct answer, this doesn't happen. What doesn't happen? What doesn't happen? So you're saying because he doesn't give a direct answer, you've reacted the way you've reacted. No, you've reacted the way you reacted because you wanted more than what you were given, and you wanted to make sure you got what you felt you deserved. And that level of wanting and desire from the situation caused this reaction from your side of things, Shiloh. Because remember, Phil was saying, I'm going through the process since the beginning. The same way you told Tyrone, I want to go through the process, right? He wanted to go through the process. He does not have to choose until the very end. And the difference between Jason and the Kyra situation here is this again, all right? Is that once someone asks you a question and you got an answer, you've got an answer. You've got an answer. Right? You've already got an answer. So, it's looking at the situation. And the thing as well with the Kyra, the Jason, and the AJ situation was more about the case. I think most of us could see that Kyra wasn't going to try and choose anybody. Baby, if you're not going to choose anybody, we don't need you to be here. That's the difference. Kyra looked like she wasn't going to choose anybody. I think Phil would choose Sydney. I personally do think he would choose Sydney. I think he would have chosen Shiloh up until point two, until she started showing certain lights of behaviour, which I think will come out as we interview some of the cast members. And trust me, some new stuff will come to light, and I think it will help you guys understand what's going on. But my personal thing is, as black men, we cannot use that as an excuse. Let me tell you something. Even now, I'm very much more, and this is really maybe I probably should start as part of the conversation. When I'm out and about and I see black women, and even black men around, I'm very careful. I was out the other night and there was a girl that was dancing. And this guy was really, really close. And I asked her, is he with you? She was like, nah. But I'm watching him, and whenever she moves her body maybe to another angle, he then moves his body to another angle. So I'm trying to tell her, listen, look, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Are you sure? Because I don't like the way the guy is kind of moving behind you. She's like, yeah, don't worry, I got it. No worries, thanks very much for caring. Left out of that. Right, because that's all that needs to be taken care of. I was in the gym some months back before I went to Ghana. There was a girl that was working out by the machine, right? And two guys innocently were just standing by the machine catching jokes, right? And I went to the gym and I said, guys, can I be very honest with you? I don't think you understand. It may not make sense to you right now, but you're really close to this girl and you don't know her. And I said, look, I know it might sound a bit mad, but you might want to give her a bit of space. And because they were really close. No, they were actually too close, right? They were too close. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, it's not like they were really, really close. And I was saying to them, guys, your proximity is too close to this young lady here. It's gonna make her feel uncomfortable. She might not say it. I want you to be aware of that. They said, oh, bro, no beef, no beef. They moved on, right? And I said to the girl, you okay? She said, yeah, I'm fine. I appreciate that, blah, 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 right? Didn't want to say it. Cool, done, right? And this is something I'm cultivating more and more. If I'm walking down the street at night time, I will cross over and start singing. Now, it sounds kind of mad, but if it's at night time and it's me and you walking one-to-one, and I'm going to start whistling and singing. And the reason why I'm going to start whistling and singing is I want you to understand that I'm not a threat. Right? I'm not a threat, but I want you to understand I'm willing to cross over the road to give you that space. Why? Because I understand the intimidation that I'm going to be imposing on you as a woman, as a man. You have to understand that, right? And that's something, you know, we have to start teaching other men. But this is not, Shiloh's behavior is not an excuse for me or other black men to not defend black women. What she did is what she did. Okay? All right? Let's not do that where we're making anecdotal experiences of one person, everybody's experience. That's not the truth. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah? I don't like what Shiloh did, especially the fact that she was omitting information to other people when she's telling a story. I don't like that. I don't think she also protected him the same way the way she was getting protected from him. I don't think she did that, right? And it's because she was hurt. But I think most importantly, we have to hold ourselves as black men to a standard that goes beyond what they are going to do. What women are going to do, they're going to do, right? If there's some women that are going to be moving mad, let them move mad. But we are going to hold ourselves to a standard that as men, we protect our women. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and in this instance, they're actually talking and dating. It's not even like a random woman. This is somebody you're actually talking to and dating. Why would you not want to have her, protect her? Regardless of whether it went further or not, whether it went to another place, whether you guys got together, whether you guys had sex, I don't care about that. Why would you not want to be protective of her? You feel what I'm saying? Right? To not do so is also to train yourself to be in a position where when you do have a partner, you're not going to be protective. That can't run. That's not how we operate as black men. That's not a standard, and we'll do a video on this maybe a bit more in the future when I get back from Ghana and talk a bit more about this, how, I think we have to hold certain principles irrespective of how we feel, because that's what we should do, right? We can hold people accountable, but we can still hold our own standard as men. Shiloh is one person, not the entire black woman. She does not represent every black woman. As a black man, you should always be looking to protect your own, whether that is a partner, mom, sister, friend, and even a randomer. Yeah, okay? Because that's how we take care of each other. We have each other's back, right? So, you know what? Like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification uploads. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded.